Good evening, everyone. Monaco64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Hopefully, you can hear me okay. Let me know. I'm a little early, just a bit of 5 minutes. We'll wait for everyone to come on. We've got 48 people watching. Cupid Stunt. Hi, Cupid Stunt. Nice to see you here. Let's see. Hi, Rob. Bon dia. uh, so you can hear me okay, guys? Just let me know. Hi, Ben. Hi, Evander. Yeah, I just switched the furniture around a little bit. I mean, I don't know if you remember when I was younger, when I was a little boy, my sisters and I used to like changing rooms, changing our rooms around. So it's good sometimes to change things around. Volume is good. Uh, Fabrice Necht from Denmark. Hi, Fabrice. I haven't seen you around before. Welcome. Stacking on the low. Good evening, Gatton Roland, Pablo Pina, Ben Gray, Omar. Volume is good. That's good. Hey, girl, OG, nice to see you. By the way, it's getting a bit cooler here in the UK, so it's nicer now. A few weeks ago, it was too hot. I think it's even colder than it should be right now, but that it's nice though. Man Yanka from Toronto, Michael Jensen from Denmark. Yeah, I know Michael. Chris Varga, Pad. Great to see everyone. So the title of the live stream is about pension funds following Warren Buffett. You guys, some of you probably saw on Zero Hedge, there's a story about the Ohio Police and Fire Pension Fund. They hold 16 billion in assets, and they've approved now to put a 5% allocation for gold, which is quite significant, I think. That a pension fund like that is looking to invest in gold, and I think this is just the start. I think people have seen that Warren Buffett is doing, and this is different than hedge funds. These are pension funds that probably have been told for decades that gold is a commodity, that it's risky, and they try to avoid that. They try to stay into bonds and paper assets, corporate bonds, AAA bonds, AA, government bonds. But I think there's people are starting to realize that things are going crazy monetarily. So I think that's a good sign. And I think we're going to see a lot more people like or funds like the Ohio Police and Fire Fund get into gold, not only in the US, but everywhere around the world. And it's going to be like trying to fit the Mediterranean Sea into a hose because the gold space is relatively small compared to the financial world. So I think that's a good sign. J Star, I have put 35,000 into gold and silver stocks. I'm considering to take a 600,000 pound mortgage on my flat in London to make it into a rental property and invest the rest into gold and property. Well, that's an interesting strategy, taking a big mortgage like that. But if you're going to rent the flat, I don't know how much it's worth, and put the rest into gold and silver maybe as well, and other properties. I think I'm waiting. I think eventually it will be a good thing to buy property to rent out as an income. I checked recently properties around where I live, and the rental yields are still really low though. And I just saw as well today. There's been a lot of stuff in the newspapers, like in the FT and other major newspapers, talking about the fact that the Chancellor of the Exchequer here, he's looking to tax not him, but like the people at the Treasury, the bureaucrats are thinking about increasing taxes on the investors, on the wealthier people with properties, and also increasing capital gains tax. So I think it's a good thing to maybe wait a little bit to see what's going to happen. I think there's a lot of uncertainty. And not to say that you shouldn't do what you think you're doing, though. Andrew Bennett, Bridgewater Associates now have 1.2 billion in gold ETFs. Andrew Bennett says, "Yeah, they Bridgewater Associate they are a hedge fund. Yeah, it's too bad they have it in ETFs. I think it's a mistake. Maybe I think they should take delivery of it. Actually, I think they should do like the Texas uh, University of Texas fund did. They were advised by Kyle Bass, and they bought physical gold." Kerr OG, thank you for your super chat. What do you think about September? Earlier years, this is the month things go bunkers. Yeah, it's right. I spoke about the dollar index. I think it was yesterday or the day before. I kind of forget the days I make the videos. I think it was yesterday or Friday. Uh, there's a book by Franz Pick, The Triumph of Gold. And Franz Pick was a currency analyst in the 50s and 60s. I think he died in 1986, but he used to write analysis for central bankers. And his experience was that September was always, for some reason, a wacky month, not only for currency markets, but also for the stock market. I think Lehman, the collapse of Lehman was, I think it was September, mid-September. You've had the crash of 87, the 29 crash, October 29th, which I've got that in that photo up there. That's the stock exchange in New York on Black Tuesday. So yeah, a lot happens during this time of the year. So it will be interesting to see. The stock market continues to be totally stretched, and mainly being driven up by a few issues like Microsoft, Apple, Netflix, all the big technology companies. If you strip them out, the stock market wouldn't be doing as well. Andy from Devon, do you think the UK National Savings is a safe place for your fiat cash? Yeah, I think so. You know, that's UK government. If you trust them, of course, your cash will lose a lot of purchasing power over the long term, but it's not a bank, so it should be okay. The government, it's guaranteed by the government. I think the only risk is that you lose purchasing power. I guess there are some interesting accounts in the national savings, the premium bonds, where you might get lucky and get some extra money. So why not? The other thing that's been happening this weekend, not only here in the UK, in London, there were um, big protests yesterday in central London. I think it was about 30,000 people at least, really peacefully protesting. They're going up Downing Street, near Downing Street, Whitehall, Trafalgar Square, right, central London, protesting about what's going on, about freedom, about the story about child abuse, pedophilia. It was a huge thing. And I saw in Berlin as well, Robert Kennedy Jr. made a speech all about the exaggeration of what's going on right now. So I think hopefully there's a bit of hope on that side as well. GDX, what will happen if the dollar crashes? Well, GDX is on junior miners. It should do well, of course. It should do well. Of course, it is denominated in dollars, but if the dollar drops, let's say another 5% as per the dollar index, and GDX goes up 50%, it doesn't matter if the dollar goes down. You're still making 40% in dollars. Turkish lira will be next currency to collapse. Probably. I mean, the Turkish lira, I think all fiat currencies are going to keep collapsing. The currencies in peripheral currencies from emerging markets tend not to do as well. So yeah, a lot of we know a few people here in England, some friends that know people that go to Cyprus, for example, or Northern Cyprus, which is like the Turkish part. And a lot of them say, oh, we keep some of our money in Turkish lira because it pays high interest. And you try to explain to them the reason why the interest rate that you get is so high. It's because it's risky, and it will probably, and the currency is probably going to lose a lot more value than the interest that you get. Lord Humongous, I like the Jeff Bozo protests with the guillotines married by Amazon employees. I haven't seen that one. Chris R, will they let people default on loans? No. The people in charge, the bankers, unfortunately, they only sort themselves out. The general public, we have to pay for it. And that's why it's probably better not to get into debt. You see all the talk now here in the UK that they're going to have to raise taxes to pay for all the debt. That's what it is. They're going to come after the public, the taxpayer. That they're going to get the last drop of blood from the taxpayer. Of course, there is a lot of opposition. They're saying that a lot of backbenchers, conservatives, are against it. But either way, they're going to get people. I think they're going to start raising taxes like fuel tax and other things. They're going to raise taxes on alcoholic beverages, cigarettes, all the vice stuff. It's going to make life even harder for the average person. And we're going to see now as well towards October, a lot of the schemes that were set up to help people during this government-induced collapse of the economy is going to come to an end. So it's going to get much tougher. David Bradley, yeah, you're right about that. Even though I think a lot of, I would say the public is very divided. There's still those who are scared, who believe in what's going on, right? I actually did a little bit of number crunching today. I've spoken about this before. I had a look at the COVID tracker, right? And the COVID tracker goes back to 23rd of January. Till today. So that's 220 days, right? And if you look, the mortality rate in the world per day is 150,000, right? Normally, not COVID. Every year, on average, 150,000 people die every day. So in those last 220 days, we normally have 33 million deaths. That's just how things are. Babies are born, older people die. So you had 33 million deaths, and the COVID deaths, according to this tracker, was 842,697, which is 2.55% of 33 million. And I mean, no one can argue that these numbers are kind of exaggerated. These with or of COVID, dying with or COVID. Apparently, if they test you, for example, with COVID, and you have, for let's say, a brain tumor, if you die and you get tested positive, if you die 2 weeks later of your brain tumor, they say that you died with COVID. So that 842,000 number is probably more Well, I don't want to say what I really believe, but let's say it's half of that. So we've got 1.7% more deaths, and we haven't even gotten the numbers about the normal deaths, if they have gone down. A lot of people are arguing that they have gone down. So I think it's a total, you know, sham, unfortunately. Yeah, Jeff Loga, I watched that speech Robert Kennedy made in Germany. That was very good. He said, he repeated what his uncle said in Berlin. He said he was a donut. You know why it's a donut? Because in German, a Berliner is a donut with jam in it. So ich bin ein Berliner. I'm a donut. It's a joke, but you would say ich komme aus Berlin. You wouldn't say, I don't think, ich bin ein Berliner. But anyways, he repeated that. Simon, I have heard of Karen Hughes or Huddies. I think she worked for the World Bank or IMF. I don't really. I think she's phony, to be honest. Yeah, I think she's. I don't really buy into the stuff she says. I haven't heard from her on the internet for years, though, 2-3 years. Rama Bangad, what will happen to real estate prices if dollar collapses? Well, I think what will happen is that the dollar collapse, right? The dollar is just continuously losing value versus real things. I don't think a collapse means that the dollar will go away. It will just buy a lot less. So, but if there's a financial or economic crisis, I think it will be very difficult to buy and sell anything. There won't be any money around. So I think prices would, they wouldn't do well. I don't think. I think all the big ticket prices would come down quite a bit. I think the real estate market is overvalued. But if you don't have any debt, I think I would hold on. I mean, I know how much my house is worth. I know it's gone up quite a bit in the last 5 years, but I don't care if prices collapse, because every price will collapse. So that would just mean that I'll be able to, it doesn't really matter as long as you're not leveraged. And of course, if you also in the business of investing in property, you got to be careful. Bank holiday. Tomorrow's a bank holiday. I don't think it really matters for me if it's a bank holiday or not. The markets probably will be a little quieter when London's away, but that's the other thing that's happening. I saw recently that a lot of the big banks in the city, like J.P. Morgan, and also the law firms, they're like they're gonna move a lot of. They're gonna let a lot of their staff work from home like half the time. I think it's going to kill a lot of small business in the city of London. Um, and it's not just the banks, the insurance companies, the fund managers, the lawyers. It's all the ancillary businesses like restaurants, also events. Like people forget how many jobs are there. When people take out clients for dinner or lunch, when people go to sporting events with clients, I think that's all being killed off. So I think it's going to impact the whole UK economy. Uh, uh, and it's going to be tough because the City of London is the engine of the UK economy. I don't think it's a good thing. I think it should be more balanced. But be as it may, I think it's going to, in the short to medium term, it's going to have a huge impact on the UK economy. So it's a bit crazy for the government to be talking about taxing people even more to pay for the debt. I think it's going to kill the economy even more if they do that. Marcos Cunha, which silver stocks would you buy? Well, I can tell you I've got Hecla Mining, silver stock. There's some other ones as well, like Pan American Silver, First Majestic. I recommend you go on to sprott.com and look into their ETFs and their funds and see what they hold as silver. There's not too many silver miners out there. Uh, a lot of the silver mining is done together with metals like copper. Sasquatch 79, are you planning to sell your precious metals in the foreseeable future? Not really, unless I have an emergency. I look at it as savings. What would unless I've got something that, for example, I want to invest in what I do here on YouTube, and I need to spend quite a bit of capital, maybe I will sell some of my precious metals. But right now, I think it's still so early. I think the fiat currencies are really gonna get hit hard. So it's just like I look at it as savings. Yeah, maybe one day I will, if I find something that can create an income for me as I get older, and maybe slow down a little bit with what I do. But no. When do you think the price will hit 2100? Well, it could be in September. September is historically a very good month in terms of the seasonal strength of gold. So we're not very far. We're only about 7% away. It's not very much. A hundred. When gold was at $35 an ounce in the early 70s, a 10% move would be 35 cents, or $3 50. Sorry. Now a 10% move is like almost $200. So it could get there very quickly. Yeah, Robbie James, I agree with you about what's going on. I've spoken about, the Energy Non-Crisis book. It's like Robert Kennedy said yesterday. Uh, Governments love wars and pandemics. So for government, read bankers. I think he knows that, but he didn't really want to come out saying that. He actually said that digital currencies are bad because it means the banks will get a cut of every transaction. Even if you spend $2 or $3 or a pound with your card, the banks always get something. And I know this because when I ran my small business for a couple of years, it was a pawnbroking shop in London. I had one of these card machines, and I had to. You can't buy one; you have to rent it from the bank, and you have to pay them every month. And then every transaction you do with the card, they take a cut. So that's the other bad thing about going cashless. And he said that in his speech, which was very good, I thought. Mercury dimes going. Yeah, I think I have some Mercury dimes. Not too many. I think I've got the normal, 64 dimes with Roosevelt on it. Rama Bangad, if the dollar loses its value, in theory, gold should go up, but isn't people scared to invest when currency loses value? Well, if the dollar, the fiat currency, is losing value, gold is going up. So in value, because gold is the anti currency. Uh, you have to remember before, because currency is basically a promissory note. And before currency was developed, gold and silver were money, and And then people started storing gold and silver with goldsmiths, for example, and they gave people a receipt, right? Uh, that said, "Oh, I've got 1 ounce of gold here," and that receipt was used as money because people, they said, "Oh, you can. This is good for gold." So that's how it used to be. So, but then the goldsmiths started cheating because they realized that people didn't come back for their gold all at once. So uh, let's say they had 100 ounces of gold stored. They normally should only have written 100 ounces in receipts, but they would do 1,000. So they would lend those receipts. Uh, but and that's basically what banking is. So the more of those receipts or money as it is today that is printed, the less value it will have versus gold and silver and versus anything else that is not created in such fast pace, for so to speak. Yeah, force majeure. I've been reading about that it's actually not the chancellor that's saying that, but some people in the treasury. I think they're testing the waters to see. I think there's. I think they're probably gonna raise taxes, probably more like the fuel tax. They're gonna probably cut the 40% pension, like kicker for people who put money into private pensions. They get a 40% tax break. They're gonna probably increase capital gains tax and things like that. But they need to be careful because the economy is not going to recover very quickly, and they do that, the economy will never recover. Well, it will take a very long time. Just a bit of water to clear my throat. Yeah, elbow Sanchez, I saw pretty big protests. Of course, the mainstream media didn't cover it too much. I saw some headlines saying that it was conspiracy theorists. So now there's like 35,000 conspiracy theorists. It's just a joke. I think it's going to continue. And I think if they try to do a lockdown again, it could get violent, these demonstrations. Uh, and I saw, yeah, my wife was watching it on RT. They had almost 5 hours of coverage yesterday of the protests. And it was just normal people, like old people, young people, all races, like just peacefully walking down and with signs and everything. But if they try to lock this country down again, I think they're gonna have problems. I think they might have played their cards. They might have overstepped things because the British usually and the English in general are quite tolerant. They respect the law and the rules, but if it gets unreasonable, I think they will rise up. I think. Uh, Diego Santos, thoughts on confiscation? I don't think in the U.S. I don't think there will be gold confiscation. It's a completely different environment than it was in the early 30s. Back then, gold was money, and the banks, they overstretched themselves. The Fed, they created too much claims on too little gold. Um, but now, not many people have gold, so I think the way it will play out is that the price will go up. I think all the price suppression that they've done for years in gold and silver has already made it so that not many people have it, so they don't have to confiscate it. But if you are concerned, you can always buy low value numismatic coins because they're exempt. Dow Gold Ratio. Yeah, I think that's a very important ratio to keep an eye on. I've said in the past that I think the correction of the credit cycle will be over when we're near 1 to 1. And this time it might even go 1 to 2, which means that you might be able to get 2 Dows with 1 ounce of gold. It could go through that 1 to 1. And the last time it was near 1 to 1 was in 1980. The top, of course, not recently, but in 1999, 2000, the top was over 40. So I would say in real money, we're actually seeing this reset has been going on for 20 years. And yeah, there's a lot of talk about the S&P and the Dow and the Nasdaq being at all-time highs. Well, the Dow isn't yet, or might not get there. But in terms of gold, the stock market is topped in 2018. So in terms of real money. Where do you see the European Union going and the euro, short and long term? Well, I think the dollar is going lower for the next few years. So the euro should stay fairly steady, but versus gold, the euro is going to drop as well. European Union, I don't know. It's difficult to say. There's a lot of political will of the elites in Europe to keep the European Union, but they might not be able to do it. Who knows? But I think the trend all around the world is for decentralization. So don't know if it will survive as it is today. Catfish, could you see Elon Musk buy all of the above ground silver for his electric vehicles, future solar technology, because of his wealth? That's interesting, Catfish. I was reading something about that. Stephen Lieb on King World News, and he was talking about how silver is important for the photovoltaic, I think, or for semiconductor for solar energy. But the Chinese, they're the biggest in renewable energy. So yeah, it's possible that Elon Musk. I think he works for the U.S. government, so it is possible that they could buy up a lot of silver. JM, yeah. The title of the live stream is about pension funds going into gold. I saw a story today because when Warren Buffett, when we saw a couple of weeks ago the data from his investments, Berkshire Hathaway, that he bought Barrick Gold back in the second quarter, a lot of people started saying that a lot of pension funds, investors, they're going to start following Warren Buffett. And I saw a story today that the Ohio Police and Fire Pension Fund, which holds about 16 billion in assets, they've approved for a 5% allocation of their funds into gold. So yeah, that's and I think it's gonna keep happening with other pension funds. There, people are, it's going to be a good thing to do. People, I think, in the mainstream investment world, they don't realize how important it is to have gold as an insurance against fiat currency collapse, against inflation. And I think people are starting to realize now, with all the debt that's been created since 2008, and especially this year with the central banks and the governments borrowing trillions, it's not going to stop. And the central bankers are telling us they're going to keep doing it. So, yeah, I think this trend is going to continue. And the other thing I said earlier, if you weren't here, investing in the gold market is like trying to put the Mediterranean Sea through a hose. It's not a big sector, so the only way for people to get into that market is going to be, it's going to result into higher prices. It's not going to be tomorrow or next week or in the next year. It's going to be over time. But I think that means the trend's going to be a lot higher. So we've got over 600 people. That's good. Yeah, I'm trying to see all the questions here. Lord Humongous says $50 silver is the floor. Yeah, that might sound a bit funny right now, but I think you're right. Once we break through there, it's going to be. It might, let's say, it might come back to retest it, but it will be a floor. What would be the last safe haven next to gold and silver? Swiss franc, no. Swiss franc, no. Get rid of the Swiss franc. Did you know that the Swiss National Bank, they own over 150, their balance sheet is over 150% of the Swiss economy. The Swiss National Bank is a hedge fund investing in FANG stocks. The Swiss franc is not a safe haven. Maybe buying a chalet in the Swiss mountains is a safe haven, but not holding Swiss francs. Uh, Maybe not a chalet, but an apartment in a chalet. Chalet would be really expensive, I think. Hi, Paul N. We're all doing well. Mash the like button, David Bradley says. Bitcoin, digital gold, surfers. Locker says it's toilet paper. Well, you know what I think is a good toilet paper as well is all the mainstream newspapers. If there is a toilet paper shortage, just buy the Telegraph, the Daily Mail, the FT, and you can use that as toilet paper because I think that's what they're good for. The, the newspapers. Red Troika, hi Red Troika. Any bears anywhere? Gold to 750. Gold could go to 750 if the central bankers raise interest rates tomorrow to 10%. If the Fed shrinks its balance sheet from 7 trillion maybe back to 800 billion, yeah, maybe gold could go to 750. Do you see them doing that? I don't. I'm not even bullish gold or silver. I'm bearish the fiat currencies, and all that gold and silver will do, and maybe they'll do a little more, is maintain the purchasing power of your savings. Yeah, the traditional media, someone said it's trash. And the worst thing is that they've been paid a lot by the governments here in the UK to come up with the all the fear mongering during this crisis. The government has bought a lot of advertisement space, so they won't come out with the truth because they don't want to lose. If they come out with the truth, they'll lose all the advertising. But I think they would gain a lot from the public. So I think they're stupid to be honest. They're gonna die eventually because they're a big part of the problem because a lot of people still read the newspapers. A lot of people still watch the news on TV. Are pension funds in Europe moving into gold? I haven't seen any stories about that, but they could start looking into that. I think a few years ago, the Dutch central bank and the Dutch regulator they banned uh, Dutch pension funds from putting money into gold, but that could change. Yeah, as I said earlier, it will probably change all around the world when people realize that more and more of these funds are putting money, their funds into gold. Victor Claudio, in the 20s when the market crashed, it was a gold standard. What is different now? Well, what is different now is that we are on a fiat currency standard. There's no anchor to the monetary policy. But back then as well, because the Fed was created in 1914, they also inflated the system. They created too much credit, but it was harder to create as much credit as they have now because there was the discipline of gold. Under a fiat currency system, you can inflate the credit bubble a lot bigger, while under a gold standard, there are credit bubbles under a gold standard, but they can't inflate. You can't inflate it as much. So I think the collapse from this present credit bubble will be even more painful than what we got in the 1930s. It will make the 1930s probably look like a picnic, unfortunately. Thank you, David Bradley, for the kind comments. Yeah, Demagogo, I agree with you. No, I'd I wouldn't feel safe having too much of my savings in the bank. Well, I don't have any savings in the bank. I just keep enough money, or not really money, is it? It's currency in there to pay my monthly bills. Oh, back away. Okay, sorry. Paul N's crazy thought, but purchasing almost all gold so it can't be used as money and force it out of possible use. I think the best thing, because we don't have the legal tender laws don't allow us to pay. We could actually pay with gold here in the UK, but then the transaction needs to be converted into the local fiat currency. But the important thing about getting physical gold and silver is that it hurts the bullion banks because they hate it when people get physical, because it ruins their manipulation game. But I think in the free market, uh, when there's no legal tender laws, there's no central bank, you will find that people will want to use gold and silver as money, not only as money to save it and store value, but also to pay for transactions or currency. Eddie Darmody says YouTube taking down a lot of truth channels. Yeah, I know they've been doing it for a few years. I saw that they took down Richie from Boston, who I like a lot. I like listening to Richie. I think he had almost 500,000 subscribers. Yeah, Lord Humongous. I think the clad coinage could be almost like buying silver, keeping the silver coinage in the early 60s, because even the base metal in the clad coins, they're going to be worth more than the face value. So if you just keep collecting or not spending your coins, I think it will be worth something in a few years time. Well, you make a profit in fiat. Clad coinage is coinage that is not made out of precious metals. It's copper, nickel. It's what we use today. That's what he means by clad. Yeah, copper, nickel, as Lord Humongous says there. So I've got a mug here. It's in my Teespring store. It says only physical gold and silver will slay the bullion banks. So there you go. If anyone's interested, there's David and Goliath. And back here, it's at Monaco 64. Yeah, I think in the UK, I have some pre 92 pennies or coppers. They are copper here in the UK. I think in the US is pre 1982 or older. The pennies in the US are copper. All right, I didn't back away from the microphone. Okay, is that okay like this? A good wine cellar. I guess that wine is a tangible good. Yeah, wine is tangible. Thank you, Pinas Lavon, for your super chat. Anything that you can touch, I guess, is tangible. And I think I spoke to, I've interviewed him a couple of times, and I enjoyed talking to Mark Faber. And he was also saying that within tangibles, there are different tangibles, like, for example, a fine art for, like, let's say a Picasso or something there's only one of it. That's tangible, but even rarer, right? There are tangibles, of course, like commodities that are renewed. They come up every year, but so yeah, there's a difference as well of how rare tangibles are. So, for example, sports cars, classic cars, they're tangible, but they're not as rare as a Picasso or another artist's work, for example, or a Mona Lisa, which is priceless. Nothing lasts like gold. Oh yeah, it's indestructible. I think there's just a Victoria Regia, which melts it, but which is an acid. Do your golfing buddies know your massive profile? Yeah, some of my friends know that they look at my videos. What happens with mining stocks if currencies go digital? Nothing. I mean, uh, I think a lot of the currencies are digital right now. They'll still be worthless. So if gold and silver keep going up, mining stocks will keep doing well. I don't know if any of you use Library, the RBRY, to watch videos, because I post my videos on Library. I think it's library.com, rbry.com. And I found some really good downloads there of gold mining programs like Bering Sea Gold. I was watching that recently. That it goes to show you how difficult it is to find gold. What is going to become the new reserve currency? Uh, I don't. I don't know. I think it's going to be multipolar. I think the Chinese yuan will be more important. The United States dollar will still be a major reserve currency, but not the main reserve currency. Look at the British pound; it's still slightly. It's still a reserve currency. I think 5% of global reserves are still in British pounds, and it's been like 75 years since it was the major reserve currency. So I think it's going to be more like a multipolar world. But what's going to be different is that you're going to have something behind the system, and that's going to be gold. But it's not going to be used as a currency. It will be used as the asset to back all these different paper currencies. That's my thinking. That's what I think will happen. How do you hold physical copper? He's asking Lord Humongous. I think I have a copper bar here, a 1 kilo copper bar. Another good way to get copper is scrap copper. Go go to a scrap dealer. He might have some copper and buy it from him or her. Rama Bangad, 100% investment in gold and silver. Well, I don't look at gold and silver, the physical bullion, as investment. I look at it as money, so savings. Uh, for investment, I don't give investment advice. I mean, that's up to the individual. You know what you want to invest in, your own business, or maybe in the stock market. But yeah, or you know, I think it's yeah, it depends on the individual. Some people will be all into gold and silver, others won't. Fort Knox empty. Uh, I don't think so, but the problem with Fort Knox is that a lot of that gold is encumbered, legally encumbered. They use that to, I think, to do all the leases to keep, to they let you know to keep the price of gold down. They use that to lease it many times over. But yeah, there's a lot of speculation. It's a little bit like a, you know, who killed JFK? Is there any gold at Fort Knox? Um, Expert opinion. I'm going to gamble all my savings and pour into gold and silver. What we just suggest? I have my life savings, $5,000. Well, you know, I think the biggest gamble is being in US dollars and any other fiat currency. I personally um, try to put as much as my savings in precious metals. Um, but if you don't know about precious metals, if you haven't done your homework, maybe put a little bit. Buy one gold coin and one silver coin and look into it. That's how I got into it. I didn't just jump uh, feet, jump in straight into the water. I put my toe in the water and to check the temperature, so to speak. So yeah, go to your coin shop or wherever you can get gold. Maybe buy you know, like a small gold coin and some silver and look into it. Vention Midtoe. Hey, Vention, nice to see you here. Golden Fort Knox is both legally encumbered and filled with tungsten core. Yeah, you're probably right. Well, what's his name? Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary. He went to Fort Knox a couple years ago, and he said, "Gold is good," or "the gold is good," or something like that. It was like a cryptic message. I wonder if he meant, you know, buying gold is good, or whether the gold is there was there. Steve Munchkin. Yeah, gold is safe. I did an interview a few months ago with Oliver Temple from Gold Investments, and that's what he said. It's just a safe place to put some of your savings. You don't have to put all of it. Uh, just, you know, Faisal there said he's got $5,000 in savings. Maybe take 1,000 and buy maybe like a sovereign and a little bit of silver, and that's it. And uh, do a little bit of research, read into the history of gold, you know, how the monetary system used to work, so you understand how corrupt and unstable our present system is, and you realize that holding dollars, euros, or Swiss francs or Japanese yen is the craziest thing you can really do in the long term. Of course, you need these currencies to function in the real world right now, but you don't have to hold too much of it. Yeah, I saw that about the Bank of Nova Scotia criminal investigation to price manipulation. It's too bad they didn't go after the big bullion banks like JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs. I don't think they will, because I think JP Morgan deals for the US government, for the Treasury and the Fed. Mark Walls, long whiskey, wine, tobacco, and cannabis. I guess that's not a bad, how can I say, portfolio of tangibles. It all depends on the individual. Hidden Secrets of Money, Mike Maloney. Yeah, I watched that many years ago. Yeah, it's a good video. General Kornilov, get your teeth fixed while you still can. Yeah, I mean that's the problem right now here in the UK with this silly crisis that is a lot of the dentists. I mean, I was supposed to go to the hygienist earlier this year, and this is all going up in the air. So copper pipes, yeah, that's what I said. You buy copper pipes. You go to to scrap dealers. Maybe they'll sell it to you. City block for an ounce of gold. Well, there's a story about a young German guy. I think some American tourists gave him a $20 gold piece, which is just under an ounce. I think it was around the time of the hyperinflation, and when the hyperinflation happened, he was able to use that buy help him buy a small hotel or a bed and breakfast with 1 ounce of gold. I'll take a few more questions and we'll call it a day. We're up to 58 minutes. Usually do a couple of hours. X22 report. I used to watch that. I don't anymore. Birth certificate has a QSIP number. Yeah, I've read a lot about that. I've looked into that for years. And I think there is something into it. That's how they back the national debts, with the birth certificate. 150, 170 years ago, you didn't have birth certificates. You just registered the birth, I think, with the church, for example. So you weren't like, yeah, you didn't have a number. You're right. The other thing, with what's going on today, they're talking about a COVID passport. But not many people realize that up until the early 1900s, people traveled around, didn't need passports. Passports uh, was something that you used if there was a war, let's say between France and Italy, and you needed to go to Italy from France. You would take a passport to go through the battlefield or through the war, near the war. It would help you go. It was just in times of war, but nowadays we all need passports. Do we really need passports to travel around? I don't think so. I think that's another sham that it would be great to see get rid of passports, IDs. Why do we need passports? Jay Northrop, I kind of agree with you about X22 report, PSYOP. That's a good, but he gets a lot of views. And yeah, the thing I don't like about X22 report, I guess you can go on his website. He does talk about himself, but he doesn't come out. He kind of hides behind the screen. I don't like that. How do you make money in this environment? Become a central banker? No, I'm joking. Uh, it's hard. It's hard. You got to find something that you have a passion for and stick to it. It's not easy though. A low blood pressure. Thank you for your super chat. Just got in. How is your golf game? It's funny. I hit some good shots, but I had a few bad holes, a couple of birdies. I shot 10 over par, which isn't great for me, but yeah, it was okay. It was a nice day though. It was cooler. So thank you for asking. Yeah, I'm sorry you're late because I'm just gonna do a minute or so more right now. Big news with Comex. No, I haven't seen anything about Comex. Uh, maybe there will be. Who knows? There's a lot of people who think there's going to be a lot of demand for physical silver. That there won't be enough silver on Comex. Who knows? Do you play for skins? Golfing. Today was a competition, but sometimes I play with my friends. We play skins. We call it badgers, or yeah, we play for a few pounds or so, not huge money. All right. Thank you, everyone, for showing up, for participating, and for all your support. And yeah, have a great week. And yeah, I'll talk to you later. Take care.